What is a beater knife? We could probably safely assume that a beater knife is not a knife for beating with. And I reached this conclusion because knives, if you want to beat something, beat it. A knife isn't really the thing to administer a beating. I mean, let's say you wanted to beat someone with a knife. Well, you're probably going to cut or stab them unless you hold the bladed implement by the blade and then beat them with the handle or something. So I don't think that a beater knife is for beating with. So it's probably more along the lines of a knife for beating on. But then, you know, people talk about the beater knife. I use this beater knife every day. What, so every day they're going out and beating on their knife? You know, they go out every day and grab a rock and pound their knife with it, or... So, am I getting lost? What is a beater knife? Well, you know, I think I know what a beater knife is, and I think you do too. So, let me show you some beater knives. 1, 2, 3. From front to back, we have a SOG Aegis FX. And then we have a crusty, Warncliffe-esque knife made with a razor, straight razor. And then we have a similar model made using a corn knife. We're going to have to do that standy-uppy thing at this point because of lighting issues. So, there you go. It was a corn knife, had a blade probably about 1.5 inches long, which I snapped, and so I made a very tiny knife. And I was using this one and this one for some bone whittling. Now, I also discovered that, you know, files work pretty well on bone, but they're kind of slow. You know, there comes a point where a knife is a nice thing to use, but either you'd want some kind of super steel to be able to cut through the bone and not be wrecking your edge pretty quickly, or you just use some good old carbon steel and you keep sharpening it. So, you know, it's got a fair amount of sway on it by now. You can even see a little bit of bone there on the edge, because I'm mostly using that tip there, or if I really need to get in. Yeah, and this one, I broke out the tip. You can just about see. And kind of sharpened it back in pretty roughly, you know. You could start out with a polished edge. You're whittling on bone, you're going to make that thing toothy in a matter of seconds. And then this one, it was raining this morning, and so to go out, I put on my lovely waxed cotton pants and these waxed cotton gaiters. And so I took the sheath and I stuck it in my gaiter there, and that was a very convenient carry. Very convenient. And the knife itself, I used it, you know, I cleaned under my fingernails, I did some pruning, I did some cut some lunch with it, spread some butter on my toast, all that stuff, just trying it out. And my conclusions are, wow, this thing seems like a pretty cool heavy-duty knife. I just bought it because when I started with that buck pursuit rehandling, I thought, wow, I'm not just going to do a buck pursuit, I'm going to do a series of rehandled bushcrafty knives that have these crappy composite handles that I don't like, overmolded. Yeah, actually, this one I quite do like. You know, for a wet weather use, this yellow is very slightly rubbery, but it isn't it isn't, I mean, it's, I don't know, rubbery. It doesn't have, this feels smooth. You go like this, it's not rubbery. It doesn't feel like it's going to blister you, but it has a little bit of give to it. And this, I guess, is just your fiber resin thing. It's pretty comfortable. I get this finger guard issue way better than on the Buck Pursuit, but it still gets in the way. Now, if I start cutting this or filing that, what's going to happen to this? I don't know. But I'm thinking about doing that instead of putting a whole new handle on it, because I thought, well, yeah, wet weather, right? You might not want a nice wood handle and a leather sheath. When you go out, it's pouring with rain, you might want something like this. Another thing, man, I mean, if you're going to do that, why not put it into the handle rather than, and make a proper bird's beak handle rather than have this piece of metal sticking out there. And that's your lanyard hole. It's in the wrong place. The lanyard hole, even I know this. I'm not like Mr. Big Wow Bushcrafter, but come on, your lanyard hole goes there, not all the way down here. So this, what do I do? You know, I don't know. Do I rehandle the whole thing and then keep the bird's beak? Do I grind that off? I don't know. And I don't care for now. But I did start, just grinding on the blade a little bit, sharpening it. It looks like a Scandi grind at very first glance, but you know, they did put a secondary bevel on it. So it's a very meaty knife. It's a real beater knife. You could baton with this thing, hammer it through a tree, whatever you want. I'm pretty sure. What is it? Cryo Krups 4118. I mean, I don't know anything about that steel yet. I should have looked it up before I started filming on Knife Steel Nerds. But hey, you care? You go look. I bet you it's good. It's German. Vorsprung durch Technik! So, what else can I say about this knife? Yeah, we were talking about this bevel here. Very extremely chunky, robust, yeah? Not really for me. Yeah, if I go out trying to prune trees and stuff with this, it worked. It has a really good edge on it from the fact, well, actually, I can't say that because the first thing I did with it was start sharpening on it. But I didn't really sharpen the edge. I just took the shoulders off it. So I will say really good factory edge, but the geometry is for Joe X style knife use, right? I would say. So I started raising the shoulders down the end here, and I thought, you know, maybe I'll end up doing a little triphasic grind experiment on this. I'll maybe even hollow it out a little bit here, leave this just like it is, and flatten it down the end there. And that will give it sliciness, choppiness, and whateveriness, sacrificing some of the bomb-proof ness of the knife. Anyway, it's not raining anymore, so I'll probably go out and do some work.